And welcome back to another episode of the True Patriot Podcast, folks. I have a guest with us here today that I had the pleasure and honor to fish against him and the absolute pleasure to spend a few days at an Airbnb while we were on scene. I knew at about 3 minutes into hearing this dude tell a couple stories, I was thinking to myself, we got to get him on the podcast. There's no doubt about it. Then I did some research on the dude, his past, his current, and I'm like, oh yeah, we absolutely have to have this guy on. Folks, I would like to introduce you to Jordan Westerman. Jordan, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me, Gene.
Thank you bet, man. You bet. So yeah, dude, you and I met at Lewis and Clark, and that was a haul. That's like up in the North Country up there is what it felt like.
Yep.
You had been there before though, right?
Yeah, I spent a good amount of time on Lewis and Clark, 6 to 10 days. We had a tournament there last year. And then I used to spend more time, but a lot of time in that like Northeast South Dakota. There's some really great smallmouth fishing up there. So I've spent a lot of time in South Dakota, but that Missouri River is it's a special place.
It is.
It's so different than, like the Mississippi, and it's just, it proved to me this year, it's super humbling. Last year I won that tournament, and it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but it was the most fun day that I had on the water for day one. I was off the water by 10:30. I had to leave the water at 10:30 because I was on fish. I was catching the exact same fish I was catching in practice. Like fish was set up. It was one of those days. And then it was like, and to add in if you can get a good lead on your friends and go back and buy them lunch or buy them stuff, have everything sitting for them when they get back. Like there's no better feeling than that, than just and then, that tournament was great. But
hearing those stories at the Airbnb where we were at there, that was an awesome crew we had there. You guys were unbelievably welcoming to me, a new guy coming in. I was thoroughly impressed with that and loved hearing these stories. But yeah, that's a gangster cold move right there, man. Get the lead on them and buy them lunch.
I did at the time. Like I said, I think I had talked to people and they're like, it's going to take like maybe 85 inches a day. And I caught like 2 85+ inch limits in less than 10, and like in 15 casts. So I'm like, okay,
that's crazy.
This is dumb. Like, sure. So I had like high 80s, like by 10, and I rolled up and I caught 2 of the same fish, like 17 and an 18-inch smallmouth. And I rolled up to this big debris fall and casted a Ned rig out, the same thing I was fishing the day before, and caught a 19-inch smallmouth, the same fish, same cast, same bait, same everything. And I'm like, well, okay, so why? And then I was up to 91 inches. And I'm like, why stay on the water and beat these fish up that are obviously staying? So it's like,
well, and when we were there, I could tell. I mean, obviously, day one did not fish like any place I had seen. Something was going on there that had it all flipped over on its head. Day two, it started. You could tell it was coming back. Things were starting to come around again. But I've seen that in the Mississippi, so it makes sense. It's a river thing where, man, when you find a wolf pack of like a certain area for that given season, you can just hit the mother load if you are lucky enough to be the guy, that covers enough water and knows what you're looking for. And it's difficult for those of us out from the Colorado side here, because you don't find that on just about any of the reservoirs we're on, man. When you get one from an area, most of the time it's one and done, and you got to keep moving. So yeah, it was that's a cool thing, cool experience to land on that. So before we go too far there, let's I'd like to introduce folks to you. You are calling us right now from the Battle Wagon. I can tell. I remember that paneling. That's your kayak fishing tour the country mobile here that you have, your van. Talk to us. What does Jordan do, man?
So yeah, like you said, I'm in the van probably almost 90% of the time now. My parents own we do corn and soybean grain farm, so we just got done with the harvest, so I'm still at home, helping finish that stuff up. And then, yeah, I'm back on the road, just kind of cruising, doing the fishing thing. I work for a small tech company. We do the like mobile bike shares and mobile locker rentals and stuff like that. So
Nice.
I work in the kind of product management stuff. So a lot of almost everything I do, I can do remotely, or I'm flying to location to do stuff. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. As far as fishing, how long have you been specifically bass fishing? Not just necessarily out of a kayak, but just in general.
So I have been, let's see, will be my 6th season. Last year was my 5th year. And realistically, nice. That was like my 5 years ago, I just started bass fishing. I done a bit of crappie fishing, a little bit of walleye fishing here and there. I lived out in Tahoe for 10 years and I worked at a ski shop. So I did that side of my life. And now my body, like I can barely walk up the stairs. The snowboard thing doesn't work out anymore. So I started fishing more out there. I actually fish Clear Lake a lot out there for crappie.
Oh, wow.
Clear Lake is, like, I would say probably the most underrated crappie fishery in the world. Like,
wow.
And yeah, so it's you can catch like 15 to 16 inch crappie like almost every cast on during the spawn time. So it's a good time.
Good stuff.
So I was doing that, and then kind of just I was coming back home for the summers in Iowa and working construction, ski stuff in the winter, and just started doing more fishing, more crappie fishing, and then got a kayak, and then it was just like did a couple onlines, and that kind of kicked me in, and then did the last, and then my second live event was the last KBF National Championship at Kentucky Lake.
Oh wow,
700 people.
That's insane.
And that really kind of introduced me to like the real side of tournament fishing, and then it was like, then that next year was kind of all in from there.
Right.
We had some really good series that year with the kind of what the All-American has turned into. It was the Midwest Kayak Fishing Series.
Right.
Yeah, that series, we had so many great anglers throughout the Midwest that just pushed each other for a year, and it was really fun.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And real quick, do you need me to hit a break here? Would you need to handle something there?
No, you're all good.
Okay. I'll just transition this. I'll just edit that whole piece through. So
my dad just got in from the field, and I'm guessing he wants to have a beer.
Sounds good. So yeah, man. So the All-American, that's the primary national series that you're fishing right now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
This year, it worked out for my schedule the best this year.
Yep.
I had planned on doing a little more of the Hobie stuff, but then with the price of diesel, it gets to be the point where driving to the Susky was a little much, and then driving to even to Dardanelle, it was like I kind of just was like I'll throw in the towel with that one and work on it next year. So this coming year, I'd really like to focus more on Hobie, but the All-American schedule just looks so good to me.
Doesn't it though? That is going to be a blast. And it feels good too when you grab other anglers' attention from other, that primarily fish other series as well. That's cool too when they're starting to take note. I want to get your just honest opinion on this. I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers out there from any side. I'm completing my rookie season here, right? So I'm kind of in now. I absolutely love the kayak community. I love it as a sport. And looking at the professional series national landscape, the way I see it, there are 4 options that a guy has, or that an angler has to compete at the national level. You got KBF, of course, you got Bass, you got Hobie, and the All-American. Now, when I was at the last Bass event, there were some conversations going on there, and the All-American is still not really commonplace in a lot of vocabulary yet.
Yep.
They, and I made sure a couple times when a guy said, he was talking to somebody who was asking us questions, and this guy had said, well, there's 3 nationals. And I was like, actually 4. I was like, there is the All-American. Well, yeah, they're mainly Midwest. I'm like, well, you could argue the same that the other 2 are mainly on the East Coast and South. I was like, to be honest with you, I was like, Midwest is the most neutral ground out of any of the circuits out there. If you want to, make it affordable for everybody, stop going to the same lakes, Pickwick, Guntersville. Look, the bass world has been dominating in that on the bass boat side for years. I personally don't think that the kayak side has to do that. I think we have an advantage that we can go exploit a lot of fisheries. And so, me personally, the All-American is absolutely a national chain. I invite anybody to come take on that group of anglers. Those guys are serious sticks, and it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. Well, and, you look at it, the money's really good too.
It's almost identical.
You knock out first and second place in a 200 person tournament but other than that, it's like, I know when I won Kentucky Lake, it was like, it was over $3,000.
Yep.
And there was people. Like, you get that to 100 people, that's a really good payout for not that many people there. And this kind of goes back to my biggest problem with the kayak scene is we're just eating the same sandwiches, maybe a different meat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or you get a half a sandwich. You want to do a 1-day tournament and base your season off on who can go to the most 1-day tournaments, go to KBF. You want to eat your 2-piece sandwiches? Well, here's your best 2-day tournaments that for $250, we might get up to $300 this year. And it's like, but that's and let me put in best 3, your best 3. So you get a wash. So you get to wash out all your bad events, and it's whoever can go the most. Not saying that it's necessarily who can go the most. Like I've had this conversation with Christine, a few times. It's like, it's not who can go the most. Like, yes, the best will always be the best, but it's like, when it's best of 3, we're just watering down what we're doing so bad. Like, make it a season where you have no throwaways. And that shows me who's the best, not who can go to the most events.
Yep. Well, and I'll tell you,
those people who go to the most events are like, they are the professional anglers in our sport who truly make money professionally off of winnings are a level above everybody.
And there's about 4 of them.
Yeah. There's less than 10.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I've spent a lot of time with a few of them, and they're above everybody else. Those people can get in the boat and go make can go make money.
Yep. Well, and that's, with each sport, you're going to get those freaks of nature that show up, but I think what's important in making that point though, is that doesn't mean that there's not a John or Jane Doe position out there that should be able to make a living doing this, that you may or may not ever hear of. There's a ton of those folks that are in the bass boat world that this is what they do. They've got the support system. You probably have not heard of them that much. Or maybe a name, you might, well, that almost sounds familiar. And this is what they do 24/7. We have that same opportunity on the kayak side to create this, true sport where there's money behind it. Sponsors want to get a piece of it. But yeah, I too personally feel that, talking with Joshua Deal, who's primarily bass is what he sticks with, that pro side, and his view, he's very strong in his opinion, and I tend to agree with him on some of these events. I can see the argument against it, but he'd like to see the minimum brought up from 12 to 14, because of how many, that would really, really separate out quite a bit. The only thing that I see as an argument against that is that, in the kayak game, we cannot cover as much water as a boater can. So sometimes, your variety selection of schools of fish, depending on the fishery you're on, is going to be not the same as what the bass boat world gets to deal with. I mean, I know several times I've been in a side of a body of water where it's like, okay, I chose the wrong side of the damn lake today. I should be down south and I can't get there. No chance.
And I know you've heard them picking at me and at Lewis and Clark about this. Like, I'm very opinionated on this. I don't think that we should be able to turn in under legal fish. If it's a 15, like Iowa, we're a 15-inch minimum. If I go to a bass boat tournament, I'm turning in 15-inch bass. If I catch a 14 3/4, that's not a legal fish.
Right.
But if I'm in a kayak tournament and I catch a 12-inch fish, that's okay. And again, I got made fun of, and my buddies picked at me because I say that. And at Kentucky Lake, I won because I caught an 11 3/4-inch fish. I'm an All-American. And they do that so that the people that travel feel like they did something, and I get it. That makes people feel good. But again, how much are we watering it down when you're like, now Turniax has the estimated weight and you got an estimated weight of 3 pounds for 5 fish. Like, you're going to take that to in a bag tournament. Like, there's only a few places in the country that you can bring in 12-inch largemouth,
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's, I mean, obviously you got the main argument that, we're not putting them in a live well. That's why we can just do the catch photo release of it. But I agree with you. I think, and who maybe the answer to this is, like you were talking about, is that actual league of, where we're paying $1,000 or we're paying $750 to get into it. And 12-inch fish aren't allowed. You want to show up to this, you're going to pay the money, and this is going to separate it where it's going to be state legal, whatever that is, that's what is permitted, and who knows, maybe that's the place where they could institute something like that.
Yeah. And that's where, if you go to a bigger money series, I think that makes it a little more, not necessarily legitimate, but like I said, I just feel like, I know when I'm turning in a 13-inch fish or measuring a 13-inch fish, it defeats me. It's like, why am I doing this? This is a waste of my time. And it's just it's like, you shouldn't be there's people that go out and target those 12, 13-inch fish. It's like, what is this doing for you? Yeah. You make a check here or there, but you're never going to freak show a bag trying to do that. And in a kayak tournament, in a one-day tournament, you have to freak show bags to cash checks.
Yep.
It's either it's a crazy hard tournament and it's the person that struggles the most, or it's the person that freak shows. And, so you have to go swinging. You're not going to swinging for 12-inch fish.
I agree.
14,
And I, at the same note, while I agree 100% with you on that, because I thought about that for like those conversations we had up there at Lewis Park, I thought about that on the drive back quite a bit. And I started to really come around to seeing kind of where you were coming from on that. It helped at the time at the lake there. I wasn't letting myself, dig into it because I was trying to figuring out what the heck was going on with that place. But at the same note, there is a place for that, for that 12-inch minimum, trying to come in, but maybe it's not at the national level. Maybe it's not at the, with the big names behind it type thing, where you're looking for that. Maybe that's where, we can see some separation. Let me get your opinion on this. As a new guy still coming in, looking at this, there's really no way, in my personal opinion right now, to claim this, because we are kind of washed out at the top level with 4 players out there. And even for you old school freaks that are out there that don't want to understand that the All-American is a national player, which you'll understand soon enough, it is. But say you got 3 or 4. Right now, the claim is the best anglers of the world that are out there are fishing the Hobie Boss because of the money they're making. I want your opinion on this. This is where I'm going to ruffle some feathers, maybe on that side. I disagree 100% and wholeheartedly. And the reason is because that series, in my personal opinion, is not a true representation of the top competitive anglers in the kayak game. Now, does it happen to have them there? Yep. But it also prevents several of them from really getting in there on some fair, even ground, to be honest with you. And that is because, in my personal opinion, we all know that the Hobie pedal drive system is the best on the planet. Okay. Even the competitors of Hobie admit it. They can try to outsell it. They can try to get there. But if you get in one, you completely quickly understand that in current, nothing beats it for a pedal drive system. So when you set up a tournament and only allow rivers of a 3 to 4 lake system, and you set the stage to be stacked for Hobie on that, dude, you just knocked out your competition. And great for Hobie, great for their product line, great for that. But in my personal opinion, not great for the sport, because again, you're kind of diluting it out. What's your, I mean, if you don't want to comment, I totally get it, but I know you have friends on a lot of sides here, but it's just my personal opinion.
First, I'm going to say, like, I appreciate everything Hobie does.
Yep.
They've been great to me. They've treated me well throughout the past. I beat the snot out of their equipment. I was on their team for a while. I'm not just we don't have dealers in Iowa anymore.
Roger that.
So as far as that goes, I mean, we gotta call it the way it is. This is the best marketing that they've ever had. That's the best way to sell a Hobie 360 is by having a tournament series that does not allow motors. Because if you allow motors, that boat is not as above the crowd. And that's what it is, a completely above the crowd boat in current, in wind, and like in everything. But it has its flaws. That's why I'm not in one. That 360 is there's problems with it. That's I'm going to be honest. That's why I'm not in it.
Right.
As far as is the best anglers there, I would say 90% of the best anglers in the sport are. There are a good amount of them that are not because they can't use their motors, or there are a good amount of them that are limited to their fishing abilities because of their motor. Like I like to use it for me, like as an example. Like I just fish completely different when I'm in with my motor than when I'm in a pedal drive, because I fish almost 90% standing up. Like I stand up the whole time I fish. Everything about my cast changes once I sit down. Everything about my hook set changes. And yeah, I could spend more time, learning how to sit, but I don't like sitting down. I didn't buy my kayak. I didn't buy a Hobie, especially to sit down and fish out of it. I bought it because it's the most stable stand-up fishing kayak out.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I agree 100% with you. It's a brilliant business move. And I mean, no disrespect to it. I'm purely making the statement from the outside looking in to say, we would absolutely consider some of those trails and throwing our hat in the ring to go compete with that. But I love my new Canoe Unlimited, but dude, I'm not going to take that pivot drive into Missouri Current or to even lacrosse current. I'm not going to take that and sit there, because Jody Queen and I had a conversation about this, and he said it best to me, and it resonated with me, as he and I are of the same generation. He's a little older than I am. It just so happens that what we love to do is good for our health. But we most certainly didn't get into this because I want to get swole legs and go out and pedal, 2,500 miles like Fisher can do or Josh Deal can do. Those guys are freaks in nature. I mean, they're as fast, if not faster than those of us with motors, just in their pedal drive system. That's super cool. And that's something to absolutely respect. But that's not, in my opinion, that's not what should separate the anglers. You know what I mean? That's why I look at it and go, I would prefer. So that's why I think Hobie Boss has an absolute place there. Keep going, keep doing what they're doing, because they're giving great press to anglers. They're bringing our sport up. Love what they're doing there. But man, I wanted to know your opinion. If you feel like I do, which is we're hungry for a league out there to really start separating some of this and putting an even playing field out to say, now who's doing what.
I don't even like. I want a just like we talked about earlier. I want a different sandwich. I want a piece of pizza. I don't want the same type of tournament series that, like we said earlier, is less than a co-angler's buy-in for an open. You know,
Nice.
our championships are $500, or it's like I would love to see $1,000 plus entry. 5-6 stop series. I know Tyler's talked about this multiple times.
Yep.
And all you need is 50 people. If you get 50 people at $1,000 an entry, you can, that's so much to play with. You can pay it down. There are 50 people in kayak fishing right now. There's, even if you get 30 to start the year off, I think at 30, it's still over $1,000 payout for first place. It's like,
yep. There
are people that can do this. There are people that get sponsorship money that will buy them into that. I'm looking at it like I will pay out of my pocket to do this just to get it going, because it's like it's what the sport needs if we're gonna like not get looked at like we're watering everything down and just fishing out of a plastic boat.
I agree 100%, man. And it's, I said this before we started recording. I will flat out go on record again. My bass boat buddies hate hearing me say this, but it is the truth. I have seen a higher average skill level of the kayak anglers at that top level than what I found in the boat world. And the only reason I say that is because in the boat world, you can get away with some bad habits. Your equipment makes up for some deficiencies there. Where in the kayak game, if you want to compete against the best of the best, dude, I have no problem being, a guy, because I have no dog in this hunt. Dude, you can't get away with that stuff. I learned those lessons all year long, getting my butt just handed to me off of the silliest of things. And when it finally came together was at Lewis and Clark, things finally, enough preparation, enough time, just taking my head off the side of a stone wall, things finally started to click there and fire. And that just came from, literally 3 weekends back to back, traveling from Nebraska, Kansas, back to Nebraska, and just keeping going. And things finally started to gel. As soon as I had a 2-week break, felt like I had to start all over again, but you're right, man. It's the angler piece out there. The kayak world has an opportunity to define itself. And I really, really hope that those powers that be that are out there, or that we can get enough of their ears, guys like you can get the ears of some of these folks, because there's been a lot of mistakes in the bass industry's going through some of those mistakes right now. We should be smarter than that. We should understand the power of diluting things down, of why we don't need to do that. We can define ourselves. So I hope more people listen to you, man, because I know I did. It brought me to a new understanding of kind of where our industry's at.
Yeah. We have that ability to grow, and it's like, are we just going to keep growing with the same business plan, the same, and it's a great business plan. It's the get as many people as we can here for the tourist, so that the tourism or the bureau or whatever gives us money. Well, they're giving you like what 5 people would, it's not like we're getting $100,000 from the, these cities that we're going to.
Right.
La Crosse treats us absolutely amazing. But we don't have a lot of other places that do that,
right.
that are wanting kayak, there's like, I know Hobie tried to go to Okoboji a couple years back, and they just laughed at him. They're like, you want to come here in the summer when our hotels are full and our lakes are busy? Like, why would you do that? Well, no, we don't need you to come here. It's like,
right. So
it's like, do we need to keep looking at, I don't want to say big, like asking for money that way, when you're just that's 5 people. You need to convince 5 people now to get that extra $5,000 that we're getting, or $10,000 that we're getting, or $2,000 that we're getting, or or whatever. But it's like that money can be brought in by anglers if you can get the money to play with.
Well, dude, and that supports your pizza tournament, mentality that you're talking about here. Is if we keep going to the same places everybody else is going, there's more fisheries out there that maybe aren't flashy named like lacrosse, but are just as good. We just, it's going to take that networking to find it out there. And maybe those places will pay you to come out in June. Maybe, and then you get that best of both worlds type thing. But
yeah, you look at just the upper Midwest, it's like you've got Leech Lake, you've got the Burton Mullet Lakes, you've got everything that we're going to, we've got a ton of lakes in Wisconsin, all these little lakes, less than 5,000 acre lakes that you could now go to because you're less than 50 people. Like it opens up so much, and we're not just going to Pickwick, Lacrosse,
Gunnersville. Yeah.
It's like, I get why we go there, but again, if we are picking a different type of food, that pizza, then we can look at what we're making differently.
Yes, sir.
Sound dumb that way, but
no, it makes 100% sense to me. So let's talk about it, dude. That All-American schedule looks phenomenal. Even I know it's still tentative because we got to wait for a couple permits to come through, but I pretty much, between that and one of the local clubs here has already released its schedule. We've got our outline schedule figured out for next year. Now, I would like to squeeze in a few other events, so we'll plug those in that fit, but we've pretty much tried to ank in. That's, let me pull up here. I apologize. I thought I had it hanging up here, but I think where was it at? Was it at their Facebook site, right?
Yep, Facebook page.
So I'll jump out there.
Yeah, I'm really excited that is it Lake of the Pines, the first one, that'll be
That's right.
Texas that time of the year. Have you spent any time down there?
Not during that time of the year. I've been through there during the miserable parts of the season.
It's like February and March, even sometimes in January, but like February, March into April, like Texas is just amazing. It's a special place. I was down there. I've spent a couple of years now where I'm down in Texas around that time, and I spent like a month and a half down there last year between Toledo Bend, Fork, and Palestine, and yeah, it's so much fun. It's so good.
So we're going there March 17th and 18th, Lake of the Pines, Texas. That's that first one. Yeah. So that should be a ton of, is the spawn over by that point? Or you think they're just getting rolling? They're into it?
East Texas, that's East Texas.
Yep.
The year it'll be kind of like, it'll be on and on.
Or nice.
I want to say like a week or two earlier than that, it took like 35 plus to win a tournament there.
Ooh, dog.
That was one of the reasons I know that they were like, oh, we should probably look at this, because it's not that heavily pressure, or not that heavily like tournament fished for kayaks, and there's some giants in there.
The map study I looked at, it looks like a ton of fun, and it's not a horrible drive for me. Not too bad. I mean, everything's a horrible drive from Colorado, but just because we're like out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by nothing. So no offense to the dust fields out there, but it is. Next on the deck, looks like, and one of the other things, I wanted to get your opinion on this. I'm super excited about it. I like the change. The All-American has made a change. We're still a 2-day format, which I absolutely support. I think at this level we need to be. But they moved us to Friday, Saturdays now for the most part, not Saturday, Sunday. I'm excited about that. I like that idea. What do you think?
I love it. I think it brings more to the community side of the fishing. Like, it gives you a Saturday night to have with your friends at the places that you're staying at, to be able to get back to your family. It's not, because you may get people that are losing one day of pre-fishing, which, if you're going to travel to these events, like especially the All-American, these are bucket list locations. Like, these are places that you don't want to just roll up to a day and get one day of pre-fishing. Like, go to these places and enjoy your time. Like, there's some coming up here on the schedule, like especially that Monaco one. Bring your family, get a cabin, and just have the time of your life. Stay for a week. That is the best place, in my opinion, to vacation in the summer, that time of the year. Like weather's gonna be absolutely beautiful. Like everything.
Yeah, that is a beautiful section of country up there. And I agree with you, man. If you're gonna, I don't want to be, I don't want to hurt anybody's thoughts on this, but I will say this personally: if you're going to commit to the All American Kayak Series and go to one of these, unless you just enjoy handing your check over to a bunch of guys, if you don't put some time into these bodies of water, these hooks that are in there, I mean, these are some serious anglers that they do spend the time. They do take their time to figure these places out. And that, we try to give ourselves at least 2 days. I'm kind of used to that from the boat days on new bodies of water. If I'll try to get 2.5 in, if I can, just to kind of, I know that if I get too many days leading up, I spin out a little bit. I get too much info. So that's for me personally. Some guys I know go out there for like a week beforehand. That's what they try to go after. But Lake Conway, I've never been there in Arkansas on that one.
That'll be a really good tournament. I know that I can't remember. In same time as a memorial tournament. I feel terrible. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But there will be a really big amount of people there. It'll be a really good tournament.
Nice.
The Arkansas guys will put on a joint tournament then. And I know that time of the year is supposed to be really good. So we should have good numbers, both people and fish numbers.
Well, and I want to bring that up there too, because I mean, the Classic comes up next, but here are the states that the All-Americans go into next season: Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin. We're going to be going, I believe, Mississippi River Pools. That's 13 and 14. That's also Iowa, I think.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Clinton or whatever. And then the last one in Kansas. Our championship is in Arkansas. So, I mean, me personally, I don't see how you can get much more centrally located than that batch. I mean, that is the most even ground. It doesn't give unfair advantage to I think, anybody. You're always going to get your locals that'll show up. You get that with every tournament series, but I love this. I mean, we're going St. Clair. I don't think I can make that one, but man, what a bucket list item to get there. I know for a guy like you, for those of you who don't know, this guy is like a smallmouth whisperer here. So St. Clair's got to be just like, Disneyland to you at that point going there?
I loved going there last year. Like we hit it we're going to be there again, like at the right time. It's like middle of the spawn, if not right at the end of it. It was all time last year.
Dude, they build smallmouth there with shoulders. I mean, these things are huge coming out of that water compared to the skinny river guys we normally pick off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they're big fish. They're big old mean fish. And the other thing is they've been beat up. They're pressured. They are, I know I lost some big fish last year because their mouths are just literally like hole after hole, because we're bed fishing that time of the year. I don't want to make it sound like a bad thing, but right. You're tournament fishing and you go to a bed fishing tournament and you're on smallmouth bed fishing, like you kind of have to do it. So it just makes everything from your presentation to your hook to your line everything has to be perfect. And that place is and will be all time that time of the year.
Another one, that's the last two that are of notable, this mined land wildlife area. So I never even heard of this thing, and I wasn't even sure how I was going to find it on the map. I did find it. One of the things that I do now in the kayak side when I start my map study is that I get my Google Earth up, I get Google Maps going with satellite view, and I'll throw a pin down for all the boat ramps.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, there's like 100 and some odd lakes here that you can get access to that each have one. Well, some of them don't have ramps on them, but most of them all have boat ramps. Most of them have sometimes 2 boat ramps. Dude, to me, I sent a deal over to Tyler there. I sent a message, and the statement I made was, "Hey man, you guys might want to think that the first place trophy might need to be like in the shape of a banjo, because I'm pretty sure we're going to hear some. That place is in the middle of nowhere out there. I saw some homes that I don't want to accidentally stumble across their property. I might not come back, But have you ever fished that area?
I haven't. I've only fished one lake in Kansas, so I haven't spent too much time down there. I'm looking forward to it. It'll
Dude.
be that hits my conflict time where it's very, very hard to pull me away from brownfish.
Oh,
Kansas, especially when I'm going to be. So I pretty much live in Minocqua or in the Minocqua area now.
okay.
Or I spent like 2 months up there this year. I
Right.
pushed for that tournament so hard. Not because I know the area, just because I know that anybody that will go up there will be like, why do we not have more tournaments up here? There's just so much. So for me to be up there already and then leave to go to Kansas, smallmouth to go to try to catch Kansas fish, I'm like,
to me, after I saw it on the map, it's like, okay, I've got to go experience this just to see it's going there. I know I need to work on my trailering, getting in and out of the water fast, because I have a feeling that's going to be in play there, for sure. And then the last one here, Felsenthal Refuge. How do you pronounce it? Which,
and
Owashta. That's right. Owashta River, Arkansas. So this was like right on the border. It looks super marshy. Are there gators there, dude? I mean, are we going to be seeing gators? And I
don't think that far north. No,
I didn't think so either. I was hoping not.
I've heard really good things. It'll be the first kayak tournament ever on there. Good size of fish, good everything. I know the Watchtower River has some big fish too. So
yeah,
everything sounds good. We did skip the most important one though.
Did I? That has to be Okoboji. Yeah, that's going to be. I have not, but I have done a ton of research on it. And every time I look at the results and I look at either measurements or weight, I'm like, is this not a typo? I mean, what is going on there? I mean, what's in that water, dude?
I don't think it took under 24 pounds, or I know it didn't take under 23 pounds to win a tournament at all this year. And that was almost every weekend.
That's crazy.
So Okoboji I live an hour, or my parents' house is an hour from Okoboji. I grew up around that area my whole life. It's a blue water fishery or a blue water lake. It's like one of the only ones in the world. So it's spring fed, it's pretty much crystal clear. And then you have different, so you've got West Lake that's like, say, 15 to 20 foot of visibility. And that time of the year, the fish are pulling off of the main lake and into these smaller pockets. And like, I sat there in a day in pre-fishing, and you literally, like, no joke, over 100 fish a minute would swim past you. Like, and it wouldn't be like little bass, it's like 4 pounder, 5 pounder, 3 pounder, 2 pounder, 4 pounder, 1 pounder. Like, there's it's nonstop, to where if you had a net, you could just if you had a cast net, you could catch endless amounts of bass. And it's like, there's just so many fish in these fisheries, and they're so healthy, and there's so much bait and so much bluegill, and like, it's those lakes have made the Bassmasters best of our top 50 list.
Yep.
A lot, but they will be way higher up there now. And then you got Big Spirit, which is the big lake on the north. That one's a completely different, or it's a similar fishery, but like, it's just a big, deep, or a big, shallow 20-foot bowl.
Wow.
And it's got megas in it too. The bags aren't as big as what come out of the Okoboji lakes, east and west, but there's some big fish in both. It's an amazing place to be that time of the year.
Special place for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one of the things that I personally absolutely love about and I'm so grateful of that we get an opportunity to do is that why we go out doing what we love to do, the traveling, the people, the places in America that most of us have no idea even exist. We don't even realize just how beautiful, the Midwest, out west, out east, down south, the north. There is some amazing places out there, and that's one of the things I do love is going and checking these places out. For sure. So let's, speaking of that, let's talk. What does next season look like for Jordan? What's on deck, man? You going to put some heavy pressure on any one of the series? You're going to kind of rinse and repeat, same as you did last year? What's it looking like for you?
Probably more rinse and repeat. Yeah. I'm going to do pretty much all of the All-Americans. I'm not sure about the Kansas one, just because, like I said, at time of the year, I like to kind of escape that time.
Right.
And then when Hobie comes out, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that conflicts with All-American.
Yep.
As we talked about earlier, if you're in the kayak game and you really want to, I want to say make a name for yourself, but you want to make some real money, that's where it's at.
That's the series. Yep.
That's where your paychecks are going to come from. So, I'd like to spend more time. I blow up in those Hobie tournaments. I don't know why. I want to win a Hobie. I want to do good in a Hobie tournament so bad that I just blow it. And I'm blow up.
And it's so freaky, man. Our sport is so freaking fickle that it takes such a perfect storm to come together to get a win to begin with. Everything has to click just right. All those things in our control outside. And so, when the desire is so heavy, I could see that, that's half the fight, right? I mean, it's just getting our mind right at these events, learning how to get into a good routine and get where we need to get.
Oh, yeah. So, and getting your mind right and keeping your mind right are the two hard. I always go to the hardest thing in kayak fishing is I can't make a bad decision because my next decision is always right. It's so easy to say, but it's so hard to get yourself in that mindset. But I know, like, I was there last year. I talked to Jeremy about it this year because he had a crazy good season. And it's like, that's how you feel, because it's like, if there's not a fish in this laydown if there's not a fish on my starting spot, oh, well, there's probably going to be one in that laydown next to it. If there's not one in that laydown, I'm probably going to work down the bank and catch one here or there. If not, I'll go from there and I'm just going fishing, where you have that other mindset where it's like, oh my gosh, they weren't in my starting spot. I didn't catch any in practice anywhere else. What am I doing? I can't go practice. It's like, cut all your baits off, retie, go practice. It's like, it's so hard to do that. But if you're in that, my next decision can't be the wrong decision, or that good, as G-Man says, PMA, if you can keep that good PMA, nothing can go wrong, because there's always 5 minutes left in the day until there's not. And then it only takes, like they said, less than 15 minutes to catch, 5 fish.
That was the advice that Josh gave me, man, last year. So I started the season off, and for whatever reason, just things were not clicking for me, man. And so I pulled back for like 30 days to pulled out of a couple of local events, tried to get myself focused, got back on the water, followed Jody's advice, time on the water, started getting out, doing that. And that was one of the things he told me was, before you start freaking out, just remember, it takes about 15 total minutes to put 5 fish up on the score tracker there. And I'm thinking to myself, no shit. I mean, it really is a 2-3 minute move. That's all we got to, pull off there when we get them. Jeremy gave me some tips, dude. I can get a fish pictured and, set and locked inside of a minute now with my Samsung. Now that he showed me exactly, a couple button moves on that thing that I had no idea would do. And so, the whole piece to that is just, getting that, but I want to go back to what you said, dude, because that's some seriously like philosophical deep shit that you just spilled on some people that I don't think folks, maybe that aren't around our sport as much will appreciate as much as I do. And that is, that next decision has to be right, or can't be wrong, type thing. That's that's some powerful stuff, because any, yeah, I mean, that is some seriously,
because you've been there, know that feeling.
Finally. Yeah.
It's not like where you're telling yourself, man, it's just and it's not like I'm in the zone, or it's just that the confidence is something that if you don't have, everything from your cast to your flips to your hook sets to how you present the bait changes. When you have that confidence, the bait gets put in the right spot. Or if it's not, in your head it is. It's like everything that you're doing is perfect, and you can call your shots. And when you can get there and you're calling your shots and it's not happening, and then it's still like, there's a fish there, but it's just not eating my stuff. Like I heard this in I can't remember where it was, when there was a tournament not way back in the day, but like where KVD was doing really good, and he was catching them on a lipless, and he casts out, and he's reeling, and bang, loses one on a lipless. Casts out, bang, loses one on a lipless. Casts out, bang, loses on a lipless. Turns to his cameraman and says, I know what they're eating. Not I'm losing fish or this. I know what they're eating. And it's like, it's a mindset thing. And like fishing is so much mindset. I've talked about Christine earlier. I've spent a lot of time with her. I know why she does good. She is the most mentally strong person I've ever been around in my life. Like, that girl is a rock. And when she's on the water, especially, like, she is just confident and knowing what she's doing, and she's in the right spot, like mentally. And that's something that most people aren't. And
you combine that with, the ability. I'm surprised she doesn't have webbed toes. I mean, that she is on the water like 24/7, it seems like, and that's, you want to compete against, anglers like that. What's that?
Unless she's in Texas, then she's sitting on the couch crying because it's too hot out. I think with G and Christine for like almost 2 weeks, like a month ago.
Right.
Every day was too hot to go fishing for her, so I gotta give her at least a little shit.
I feel for her on that, man, because there's some of those days, especially out here. We live in an oven out here in Colorado. It'll go 106 with like 2% humidity or whatever, and dry heat or not, dude, an oven is an oven.
But we were catching 5 to 6 pounders every time we went out.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up and we're going fishing if that's the case.
We went to Lake Fork, and like, G puts us on the spot, and I literally flip a 3/4 ounce jig on the first wood I see, and it's like, watch my jig go, and I feel a thunk, and I'm like, did I just hit a stump? And I'm like, oh no, that's not a stump. It was 7 pounder, 22-inch 7-pounder. I'm like, first flip, didn't like, that was just put plastic on, just flipped out, and it was like,
good, bam.
When you're doing that, it's hard to stay inside.
Yeah.
I get it. Texas heat is hot.
I've got some good sun gear, and I got my reeler shield. Yeah, I'm good to go. We'll get out there if I know that's sitting out there for sure. Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for stopping by, taking the time to chat with us here. The All-American Kayak Series. We're going to be definitely, both of us will be fishing that next year. There's going to be, I'm not sure, as much as this breaks my heart to say, I'm not sure I can make that Monaco event. Number one, that's like a 3-day adventure almost for me. It's so far away from where I'm at that it adds a lot in. If we do secure one or two of our primary sponsors, then we'll make the run. But we're really wanting to see if we can stretch out our longevity, so to keep our work going with Romans.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that one.
The travel expense, yeah.
That tournament I can't promote enough. From like you look at it and be July, there will be fish on beds, there will be fish pre-spawn, post-spawn. Like, there will be any type of fishing you want to do. You want to fish in a foot of water, or you want to fish in 30 foot of water. You can catch a smallmouth over 20 inches in all of it, from in the pads on a frog to out deep on an A rig, like out deep on a Carolina rig.
So this has been a question. I've bounced this off a few people, and I've not gotten a straight answer. You'll probably know what this is. So Monaco, in my understanding, is going to be what's known as a road runner start, right?
Yeah. Yes.
What is a Roadrunner start in the kayak game?
In the kayak game, there was kind of a couple ways you can look at this. We used to do Roadrunner starts as far as a Roadrunner start in Iowa, especially in some of the Midwest events, was you could be on the water. And now this isn't what All Americans doing, but I have to bring it up because it was crazy hilarious.
Okay.
On the water the second the captain's meeting was over, but you couldn't fit. So the Roadrunner part of it was you could launch from any launch on the any boat ramp launch, kind of as your Roadrunner. But we also did it to where you could launch at any time. So in that Midwest series, we had guys that launched at like 1 a.m. and went and sat on rock piles and slept in their kayaks just because. Do you know how defeating it is to be sleeping in a campground and hear 3 trucks start up? And you're like, dude, that was so and so and so and so, and then get out there and be like, dude, they're sitting on that rock pile that we're all gonna go fish. But so now the Minocqua one is Roadrunner as far as they're gonna give us a mileage, which I think is 50 miles. 50-mile circle radius of Minocqua, you can fish any lake that is public.
Wow.
So it's one thing to say, but it's going to be very overwhelming because that's like 1,000 lakes.
Yeah.
I think I know in Vilas County, which is like the Minocqua is the southern part of that, there's over 2,000 lakes. In Oneida, there's around the same, and there's anything from a couple thousand acre to 100 acre. There's anything from largemouth, from 5-pound, 20-inch largemouth to there is a very good chance at somebody catching a smallmouth over 23 inches up there. Like
good night.
Those lakes produce it. The walleye guys trolling out there catch a lot of giant fish on those lakes. Like I've seen I've never caught one over 21 up there. I've saw a few, but like I visually have saw 7 to 8 pounders swimming around up there. Like you have a shot almost any time of the year to catch a fish over 6 or over 7. Like, wow, it could very easily take 200 inches that time of the year.
Well, we will absolutely, like you said, that's a good point. If I make a trip with the wife, maybe we can come up there. I'll get my practice in, to determine where I want to go, and then.
That is the one thing I can say about that area too. Like, bring your families. That it's just it's a good Northwoods vacation. It's that typical. You're going to be staying in or around the lakes. Very good food. There's a lot of people. There's a lot. It's just a tourist area.
Nice.
But it's a tourist area that is kind of secluded. I would say the lakes aren't going to be very busy. You're not going to deal with a bunch of ski boats. You're not going to deal with You're going to deal with some people walleye and muskie fishing maybe, and like.
Awesome.
You'll also have a very good shot at a muskie. All those lakes up there have muskie.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, buddy. Well, listen, man, we will definitely have to take a second look at that and see if there's a way. Because I know right now July is wide open for us, so that would be a nice filler in there in the schedule. We'll see what the other clubs are looking like as well. So, Jordan, you are definitely known as one of the most deadly hooks on the scene out there in any circle. On top of that, I can attest to the fact you're a hell of a good dude and a very cool guy to hang out with and talk fishing. I personally appreciate your philosophies on this stuff. I love seeing that the other guys get riled up with you. That's that's awesome as well. And dude, we're going to be following along, watching you. I'd love to have you go, jump back on the podcast here. We'll meet up before the season gets going. And anytime you need anything from us out there, please reach out and let us know.
Same for you to me.
Awesome, brother. Well, take care out there, and hopefully we'll be seeing you probably looks like Lake of the Pines in March.
Sounds good.
All right. Appreciate it, man.